2 trillion US dollars wiped out in the past 6 trading days. The S&P just had its worst week since 2023. The Nasdaq had its worst week since 2022. What is going on? This is why we are here. Hey there, Tammy from FibonacciTraders.com here with the weekly market recap. Without any further ado, let's see the charts. This is the S&P 500 heat map and the weekly. Apple lost 4%, Nvidia 14%, Broadcom 15%, AMD 9%, Microsoft 3.3%, Meta 4%, Google 7.2%, Amazon relative strength lost only 0.8%, Tesla gained 1%. What is going on in the market? 2 trillion US dollars in the past 6 trading days. Let's break it down. SPY on the weekly lost 4.14% to the downside. Needs to hold the 538 area. 530, this area is the upper border of the yellow zone. Breaking below on the weekly, we are heading south to the 529 and the 521. This is how it looks on the daily. We said that the same price action we saw over August, this flash to the downside, will not be the end. We said we need to be prepared for at least another few days like this during September. And already we got 2 days like this. Tuesday and Friday. 1.7% Friday. Closed the gap at the 545. We were prepared for this. We said we want this gap to get filled. Now we are heading south to close the gap at the 535. And then we will look for a bounce of the 530 area. If the 530 area will fail to hold the support, we are heading south to the 521. RSP lost just over 3% in the past week, holding above the upper border of the yellow zone. The 170 area needs to hold now, otherwise 1667 and 165. Overall, bears are trying to take control on the market. Look at the QQQ. 5% in the past week on the QQQ. Bearish on all time frames. We are now hanging above the lower border of the yellow zone. 532 and then 513. Overall on the weekly, we have lower highs. Now the low of August needs to hold the support. If the low of August will not hold the support, this trend line needs to hold the support. Below this trend line, below the 430 area, we are going to see the same price action we saw over here. We are going to see to the downside. So this area, the 430 area, is the most important area of support for the QQQ. It must hold. The Qs close the gap at the 454, 440 on the daily, then 423 on the daily. 432 on the weekly must hold. Below it, the same price action we saw over here, we are going to see to the downside 388 and 357. Dow Jones ended up the week 2.8% to the downside. Now we are heading south to retest the 400 area. We are still in some kind of an uptrend on the weekly. This is how it looks on the daily. We have a gap at the 400 that needs to get filled. We know that more than 85-90% of all gaps will get filled. It's a matter of when and not a matter of if. We want this gap to get filled, but we also want the 397 on the daily to hold support. Otherwise, we are heading south to the 385 area. Overall, bears are trying to take control, and for now, they are taking control of the overall market. IWM ended up the week 5.5% to the downside. Now, the 205 on the weekly is the support. Below it, 199 and 191. On the daily, IWM just filled this gap at the 209 area, which is a pretty good sign. but we need to hold the 203, otherwise 196. Same price action we saw over here, very similar price action we saw over here, and now we are heading south. The same price action we are starting to see over here. Here it took 2-3 trading days. Now it's taking a little bit longer, which feels more strong than this. It's all in our feelings. It's all in our emotions. We need to control our emotions. But for now, overall, the IWM is not looking good. SOXX ended up the week with 11.8% to the downside. Broke the yellow zone. Broke also a very important area of support, the 210 area. Now it's heading to the 193 area. Now look what you have here. The 192 area, very important area of support. Below it, be prepared. The same price action we saw over here from 147 to the 190 area on the weekly. We will see to the downside from the 192 area back to the 147. The 192, 193 area on the SOXX on the weekly. Super important area of support. This is how it looks on the daily. Flash to the downside. You know this yellow trend line. We said that as long as the SOXX is below this yellow trend line, there is no long in sight. And furthermore, more downside incoming. We're going to retest August lows. Below August lows. The flash to the downside will continue towards this red line on the daily. Magnificent 7 ended up the week with 5.4% to the downside. This is how it looks on the weekly. 41.50 is the next support. 41 on the daily, breaking below, and we will need to hold price. We'll need to hold this trend line, the higher lows trend line, the low of April, the low of August. Below it, 37 gap will get filled. 39 on the weekly needs to hold, otherwise 36.20 to the downside and the magnificent 7. Next we have Apple, ended up the week with 3.6% to the downside. What do we have here? Now we have lower highs on the weekly on Apple, breaking below, and we are heading south to the 216 and the 209 on the weekly. We have some kind of a double top scenario. First top, second top, double top scenario on Apple. 209 needs to hold, 200 next, and then 192. If 192 will fail to hold, the same price action we saw over here, we will see back to the downside from 192 to 164. I don't say it's going to happen, but it's a scenario. We need to prepare for both sides. Apple just took almost 3 weeks of gains in 1 week. The same price action we saw over here, we're starting to see over here. We had an uptrend, doji, downside, uptrend, 2 dojis, now to the downside, same price action, same price action. Let's see where Apple is heading next. On the daily it looks like this. We're inside the broadening formation, getting closer and closer to the lower border of this broadening formation, which means as long as Apple, price of Apple, is stuck to this trend line from above or from below, it doesn't matter. This trend line takes Apple to the downside, 216 and then 211 on Apple. Microsoft ended, look, this is Microsoft on the daily, ended up the week 3.7% to the downside, continues to slide down in this short-term downtrend channel, but it's not very short-term. It came over here. This channel started over here. Now, as long as Microsoft is inside this downtrend channel, the way is down, bearish on all time frames, and as you can see, the lower border of the yellow zone and the weekly, very tough resistance in the past 4 weeks. broke below the 401. Now 385 is next. 385, super important area of support. Why? Look left, trade right. Breaking below the 385, the same price action you saw over here from 334 to 385, you will see to the downside. Nvidia ended up the week, listen carefully, 13.9%, added up to another 7.7% from previous week. Are you looking for the dip? The dip is not here. This is how it looks on the daily, breaking an uptrend channel, an uptrend line, breaking the line that holds the higher lows. And as you can see, lower highs breaking below this trend line. Next support is the 91 area. Never say never. If Nvidia gave us this kind of bull run and then this kind of dip, it's going to say nothing stops it from making the same price action. And the weekly looks like this. The 100 needs to hold the support below it, 91, and then 75 on Nvidia. For now, I see more downside than upside. Bears are in control. The same bears that took control on Nvidia during end of July and August, the same bears are taking control now on Nvidia. 3 weeks, it took bears 3 weeks. Now it took them only 2 weeks. And more downside incoming on Nvidia, breaking below the 100. 91 incoming. Google ended up the week 7.6%. Google is heading south to close this gap at the 144, and then we will look for a bounce at the 139. No long on Google, no long on any of the Magnificent Seven. Don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because yes, we do have top stocks to watch video coming up Sunday. So make sure you hit the notification bell, you don't want to miss. We have some good setups. I have some good setups waiting for you. I want to see you all in the top stocks. So hit that notification bell and let me know in the comments below what more content you want me to upload and talk about in this channel, Fibonacci Traders YouTube channel. The only channel that will give you support, resistance, and will help you grow as a professional trader. Amazon ended up the week with 4% to the downside. Amazon 4 consecutive weeks inside the yellow zone. Just put FTI on your chart and you will start seeing things clearly. It's the only tool that will help you make better decisions, smarter decisions, and basically will help you make money in the stock market. It works on any time frame, on anything you want to trade. Amazon, Thursday tried to break above it, and then came Friday once again, flash to the downside. On the daily on Amazon, we have a double top scenario, breaking below the 170. We are heading south to the 162. On the weekly, below the 170, we are heading south. Same, 162, and going to retest this trend line. Meta ended up the week 4% to the downside, still inside this box. Now the 494 area on the weekly needs to hold the support below it, 480 and 464. This is how it looks on the daily. Downtrend channel until proven otherwise. Congratulations to all of you Palantir investors and traders. Palantir is entering the S&P 500 during September. I don't really know the exact date. I think September 23rd, but it's a very good news to Palantir, Palantir investors, Palantir traders. 8% after hours took Palantir to this Fibonacci resistance. Now let's see how Palantir will handle it during next week. Overall, Palantir in the past 3 weeks, we have some kind of a pullback, as you can see. Lower highs, lower lows on the weekly. Let's see where Palantir is heading with this amazing news for Palantir. Broadcom, AVGO, 15.9% on the weekly. Now the 134 area needs to hold the support. It was a very, very tough resistance. Look left, trade right. From resistance needs to hold the support. Below it, 119 to the downside. Tesla, another week. Tesla ended up the day 8.5% to the downside on Friday. This is how it looks. We're still inside this trend. Short term uptrend, but breaking below the 205 needs to hold the 201. Below the 201, we are back to the 180 area. 205 on the weekly needs to hold, otherwise 190. Look at this. In the past 3 weeks, Tesla tried and failed. Even more, in the past 6 trading weeks, 1, 2, 3 attempts to break and stay above the upper border of the yellow zone, above the 220, failed. Now the 205 and 189 needs to hold on Tesla, otherwise 170 and back to April's lows at the 138. AMD ended up the week 9.6%, broke below the yellow zone, broke below the 136 area. Now it's heading straight back to the 122. No long on AMD. We can take also trend lines. We have this trend line over here for the lower lows, breaking downtrend continuation, and we are going to retest this red trend line. Netflix ended up the week with 5% to the downside, just took the previous 2 weeks gains, broke below the 675 area, very important area of support. It was support over here, broke to the downside, and what did we get after this breakdown? This price action. Are we going to see the same price action on Netflix? For now, it's starting. No long entry on for now on Netflix. Next support is this 647 on the weekly. MicroStrategy continues to break to the downside. Another week, another 13.7% to the downside. 100 incoming, below the 100. The same candle we saw over here. We will see the same price action to the downside below the 100. Going south to the 81, and yes, even to the 70 area. SMCI, unstoppable downtrend. If previous week almost 30% to the downside, now in the past week another 11.7% to the downside. This is how it looks on the daily downtrend, steep downtrend until proven otherwise. We are heading south to close the gap at the 335 area, and only then we will look if the gap will hold or further south to 11 to the downside. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you found it helpful, educational. If so, like, subscribe. Check the links in the description below for further information. Until the next video, stay safe.